You know, different countries around the world are obviously tackling coronavirus in different ways. But in the United States, federal authorities say as of tonight, there are no plans for a nationwide quarantine. We heard that from federal officials Sunday, and the president reiterating it today, a federal quarantine not on the table.
Are you considering instituting a nationwide lockdown, a nationwide quarantine? The NSC knocked that down, but there's still some questions about how it all came
at this point, not nationwide, but well, there are some places in our nation that are not very affected at all. But we may look at certain areas, certain hotspots, as they call them.
That's the public position of the federal government. But, and this is important, I want you to know, if you looked on Twitter and certain parts of the internet over this weekend, you would have seen the opposite of the fact we just reported, because there were all kinds of vague rumors and tweets about a lockdown. This is a reminder to treat unsourced information very carefully right now. And there are new reports that foreign governments may have been pushing the online talk of a federal U.S. lockdown to both scare and divide Americans. Now, having said that, you should also know at today's press conference, we saw a president, we were discussing this before the break, a president who struggled with his response to this crisis, at one point disclaiming any responsibility, and last week still stoking and trying to poke at rivals with all sorts of petty fights. Well, we did see an attempt at a different tone today. The president saying uncharacteristically measured things about the media, about the owner of the Washington Post, who has personally locked horns with the president before, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos.
I think a lot of the media actually has been very fair. I think people are pulling together on this. I really think the media has been very fair.
We heard that Jeff Bezos has been in contact with the White House daily. Can you say what he's been asking for or proposing?
Well, I've heard that's true. I don't know that for a fact, but I know that some of my people have, as I understand it, been dealing with them or with him.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.